welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live from News Up at Adesawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Coming up this evening, First Deputy Speaker of Parliament Jose Owusu expresses disappointment over Osei Mensah-Bonsu's decision to step down as majority leader. Meanwhile, the governing New Patriotic Party is to convene an emergency meeting over his replacement. We have the latest twists and turns of this saga for you here on Hot Edition this evening. Also, cardiovascular disease is now leading cause of death amongst adults in Ghana. Details coming up shortly. All these and more, plus the reactions from Parliament on the latest with respect to the New Patriotic Party and matters arising here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. As always, we're streaming live on Facebook and X at 3FM 927. Share your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions. Read out to you and to the rest of the world. We have the latest from the Attorney General on Ahmed Swale's killing as well, and the quest for justice. We'll bring you details of these and more here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. I am Alfred Ocansey. Let's get into the details. The governing New Patriotic Party will on Friday, that is tomorrow, February 23, hold an emergency National Executive Committee meeting. This was announced by General Secretary of the party, Justin Kodia Frimpong, in a statement earlier today. The discussion is expected to center on the work of the party's manifesto committee and also the changes to the leadership of the majority caucus in Parliament. A new majority leader and his team will steer the affairs of the caucus for the next few months until the next general election on December 7. On Wednesday evening, February 21, we're talking about yesterday, Osei Mensah-Bonsu voluntarily resigned as a majority leader with immediate effect. Osei Mensah-Bonsu has been the majority leader in the 8th Parliament since 2017 after the NPP was elected in December 7, 2016 elections. He entered the 2nd Parliament of the 4th Republic on January 7, 1997. After winning the 1996 elections to represent the people of Swami in the Ashanti region, is currently the longest-serving member of Parliament, serving his 7th term as MP for the people of Swami constituency. His resignation indeed has generated mixed reactions amongst members of Parliament. The First Deputy Speaker of Parliament and Member of Parliament for the Bekwai constituency, also in the Ashanti region, Joseph Osei, says he is personally disappointed that Osei Mensah-Bonsu decided to step down.
Why not? Anybody who holds any positions can may resign.
But isn't it too early for him to resign once the party hasn't made any official declaration on this matter?
I don't know about any time management. Anybody can resign anytime.
What does it mean for the forward march of the caucus? Because as we engage, we mentioned that the caucus had not contemplated. Now, the individual in question has decided to call it quits.
Yes. What it means is that the caucus will refocus and decide where to go.
Were you at the meeting yesterday at the behest of the president?
No.
Why not?
Because I was busy on something else.
Do you believe the majority leader has been forced out by a scheme orchestrated by certain elements within your ranks?
I don't have any such information. I have no basis for coming to that conclusion.
Are you personally disappointed?
I am personally disappointed that the Che decided to stand down.
What does Antipoco support the leader?
He has been a fantastic leader, an extremely hard-working person, and I would have wished that he stayed on to the end.
What do you think got him to do this? Because it came as a surprise to many, I'm sure including you. So did it come to you as a surprise?
Yes, it did. But as to what got to him, I'm sure we better let him explain.
What will happen moving forward? Today he was in the chamber. Initially he didn't sit on his chair. It means the changes have taken effect.
Well, once he stood down, means he's no longer the majority leader. But as to whether any change has happened or not, I don't have any information. I'm not aware that any person has been either nominated or discussed or truth is by their side.
There's a name out there, and that's Alexander Kwame Afeni-Markin, the first name that got us into this story in the first place. That name is still there. How's it come up?
Well, I saw that name before the weekend came. At that time, Che was still the majority leader, so we'll wait and see.
Is that fair that a name is out there already when indeed you had a leader?
You make your judgment. I keep mine to myself.
Moving forward, what will be the implications for your caucus? We are going to an election, you have barely 10 months, there's disruption. Do you agree?
I'm sure moving forward, the caucus will discuss all the ramifications of the effects of our leader resigning and the process of selecting or electing a new one. We will discuss all that, and if there are any implications that would have negative impact on our caucus, we may decide, we may plan a route that will keep us together.
Well, that's the Honorable Jose also, the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament. And let's just put it on record that he, together with other NPP MPs, addressed the press 48 hours ago, indicating that they were not going to countenance any attempt to change Osei Mensah Bonsu as leader of government business in Parliament. In fact, the majority leader of the 8th Parliament. Well, guess what? Yesterday, after a crucial meeting at the presidency, then this news came through of Osei Mensah Bonsu's decision to voluntarily resign, even though it's been doubted by the number of people. One person who has been with us every step of the way since this conversation began is Dr. Rashid Rahman, Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. He's joining us on the telephone. Dr. Rashid Rahman, good evening. Thank you for joining us on Hot Edition.
Good evening, Alfred.
I was with you way into the night yesterday at about 11 p.m. Talking still about this particular development. Now, yes. Do you get the sense after listening to the likes of Jose Owusu that he talks about the implications or ramifications of this development they're going to be talking about in the coming days as a caucus? What are the implications? What if it so be going forward?
I think, Alfred, like we were discussing yesterday, the handshakes, the smiles before the cameras and so on, whether they were forced or, just created to appease the moment and so on. What we are hearing today, the fact that, the first deputy speaker says, I don't know whether any leader has been appointed and all those things. It still means, the caucus was not carried along, and that is for me, I think, a major issue of concern. And if they are not careful, at this time when they have to be putting a lot of glue and bonding their caucus, they are rather creating cracks. They should be prepared for maybe some difficulties, because the people that they want to lead the caucus must be people that the caucus would agree and allow themselves to be led by these people. Up until now, okay, the leader has resigned, but from what we are hearing, nobody has been appointed. Or the caucus is saying even if somebody's been appointed, then maybe that's the party that has appointed that person, but not the caucus.
I see, but then you get the sense of this general disappointment, because I recall speaking to Andy Apiakobe 2 days ago, before this, on Ghana Tonight on TV3, and he made a point quite clearly that opposition to any attempt to change Osei Mensah Bonsu was widely held by majority of the NPP MPs. Now, with this, a number of them are speaking to us off record saying that they did not expect Osei Mensah Bonsu to resign because they had spoken to him and he did not give any indication, at least prior to yesterday, that he was going to resign. How does all of that get to you?
Well, Alfred, I'm sure he perhaps considered, so many things before he made that decision. And like I told you yesterday on your program, for me, reading all this, I think he was pushed. Perhaps he has realized that, he doesn't have the support of the party anymore. He doesn't have the support of maybe the hierarchy, within the executive and so on, and weigh that with the support that he has within the caucus, and perhaps even added, perhaps personally how he felt being treated after giving all this service to the party and to country. And maybe all those things informed the decision that he took last night.
I see. But then if this is going to be described as a compromise decision, maybe after a conversation that the details of which we're not privy to that took place at the presidency, how will that impact especially on the majority MPs? I mean, who in their minds were fighting a cause in favor of a man who has just come out to say, you know what, don't stop it. You probably have just been wasting your time doing this.
Yeah, I think maybe most of them are perhaps going to resign. Not resign as in members of parliament, but maybe resign themselves from being active, in supporting government business. Because remember, Alfred, last year we had 88 of them who signed a petition wanting to get the Minister for Finance out. It meant that, between Jubilee House and the caucus, all was not well. And then you add this, I think we wait and see. And playing with the likes of what do you call it, the first deputy speaker, can be a big gamble, because an unhappy speaker presiding and sitting on that chair can make life difficult for a caucus.
And maybe finally, before I let you go, already we're talking about Osachi Mensah Bonsu leaving Parliament with the wealth of knowledge that he has gathered over the years. Mm-hmm. And now this one as well. For the work of Parliament itself, going forward, how is all of this? Especially the kind of incidents or the drama that preceded yesterday's announcement.
First of all, our nation is worse off, Alfred, because if there are, 1, 2, 3 MPs that I can count who are very diligent, love their job as legislators, and care for this country and care for deepening the independence of the legislature, I believe that the leader is one of them. We were hoping that even if he goes out of Parliament, he doesn't come back. He will still give back to the 9th Parliament. But if a sterling and a gallant career ends this way, I'm not too sure, human as he is, whether we will get what we would have been expecting to get from this great parliamentarian.
Dr. Rashid Rahman, I appreciate your time as always, and thank you so much for making the time to join us. Dr. Rashid Rahman is Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Now, guess what? A number of things have been happening in Parliament with regards to the development of Osachi Mensah Bonsu voluntarily resigning. My colleague and our Chief Parliamentary Affairs Correspondent, who has been keeping an eye on all of this in Parliament for us, is joining us on the telephone. Komla Kluche, it's good to have you as always. We understand Osachi Mensah Bonsu was in Parliament in his favorite green kaftan. What happened?
Well, he walked into Parliament this morning, spending no more than 30 minutes in the House. Even that, within the chamber, he spent close to just about 15 minutes, after which, he had to step out towards the Speaker's lobby area where he had some colleague MPs, especially from the majority side, who had engaged him. Well, as to what the discussion was, we do not know. But this is what happened. He had come into the chamber in his favorite attire, like you said, his green kaftan. And when he walked in, this is for the very first time in over the 27 years of his stay in Parliament that he would no longer be occupying the front seat. And I mean, visibly seen, he came in, his black seat was unoccupied, his name tag still on the microphone, but he didn't go to the black seat. And he had to go sit in the chair directly behind him, which is the seat that's occupied by the Abankasokwa MP, K.T. Hammond. Well, when he sat down from across the aisle, the minority were trying to tell him to come forward, to come and occupy his seat. He says, no, this is where I am going to sit. They should take their seat. You can see from the gestures, he said he would think they should take their seat. This is where I am going to sit. I will sit here. From the gestures that we saw. Shortly after that, his chief whip, Habib Idrisu, and then Obi Amwa walked towards him, beckoning him to come close or to come sit in the black leather seat, but he declined that. I mean, they spoke to him for close to, about 3 to 5 minutes. He didn't, pay heed to that. We only saw later the other senior MPs from his majority side got close to him, spoke to him as well, and then he had to walk towards the black seat and sat on it for not more than 2 minutes. Then he moved from the seat and walked towards to the first deputy speaker, Joseph Osei-Wusu, who at the time was having some discussions with the Bodi MP, Samson Ahi. And so Samson Ahi had to make his seat available for Chairman Sabonsi to sit on, and that's the seat for the first and the second deputy speakers. Well, at the time that he was having the conversation with the first deputy speaker, the chair was occupied by the speaker himself, who was the presiding, who was in the chair, and so that discussion was ongoing. And then shortly after that, he went back to the black leather seat, picked his file, and that was the end of him in the chamber today. He walked out, where he had to walk towards the speaker's lobby and had some exchanges with his colleague MPs shortly thereafter that, and then he left.
I see. Just for the benefit of those listening to us, if you can go on Facebook right now, at 3FM927 on Facebook, we are showing you the video of Oseche Mensah Bonsu walking into Parliament in this favorite green kaftan, as Kamala Kluche is just giving the details for us. We're putting videos of what Kamala has just described to us quite vividly and excellently there. And so if you go on our Facebook page at 3FM927, Oseche Mensah Bonsu is seen walking into Parliament. That's the chamber. And Kamala, that seat that he first sat on, which is just the row behind the leader's seat. And we see all the gestures that you're talking about. The gesture of he throwing his hands in the air and saying, you know what, they should take their seat. And then he goes onto his phone. He picks his phone, and that's when the Honorable Habib Idrisu and Obi Amwa got closer to him. And you're saying it took a while for him to leave that second seat. Whose seat was that?
Okay, so that's the seat for K.T. Hammond, the member of Parliament for the Danse Asokwa constituency, and also the trade minister. That's actually his seat. And I mean, it's quite unclear now whose seat, especially, just behind the front bench, he's going to be sitting on now. Is it going to be K.T. Hammond's seat? Because, I mean, from look of things, it appears, if you're looking at the senior most, K.T. Hammond appear. Okay, he has been here before K.T. Hammond came though, but it appears in terms of the seniority, he might have to be in contention, for want of a better word, in the region of K.T. Hammond. That's from his side. If you're looking at somebody. So if you're looking at somebody from their side, of course, he's in the same class. I'm using class advisedly with the Speaker himself. Of course, the Speaker is no longer an MP, but Collins Dowda and himself. I think they are the two surviving MPs who are there. Yeah, so Chairman Collins Dowda. And then if you have to look at any other person, the third person who will be coming, then that has to be the Adansia Sukwa MP, Katie Hammond. But whose seat are they going to give to him? Who will be moving? We cannot tell as of now.
Interesting stuff. And we're hearing that there's going to be a meeting tomorrow that's at the party level to determine who takes up this position. What are you picking with regards to that, at least in Parliament, among the MPs?
Well, I saw the General Secretary of the party in Parliament today, together with the Minister responsible for Agriculture, Brian Champong. If it's anything to go by, it appears a lot of consultations are still ongoing. They are meeting a lot of people before the National Council will be meeting tomorrow, after which they'll be writing officially to the Speaker in that dispatch. They need to do it because as we speak now, that seat is vacant. Nobody can occupy that seat except him. And so if he says that he's resigned, then the seat has to be occupied. If it has to be occupied, there's a way it has to be occupied. There must be an official communication from the party to the Speaker. The Speaker will notify the House, and their caucus will take a decision. I'm sure even by the time their caucus is taking the decision, they would have known who would be the next majority leader. And clearly not Osayi-Chalmers.
Clearly, indeed. And Kamala, I do appreciate this detail because what you're telling us and the videos we're showing right now on Facebook, it's clearly, it gives an indication of how the coming days will look like. Very interesting indeed. And if you look at Osayi-Chalmers Abonsu's gestures plus what the words in his voluntary resignation letter, it's a sharp contrast, is it not? I mean, if it was indeed the case, he had to be impressed upon, talked to before he moved to that seat that was, at least until today, his seat. And if actions speak louder than words, then these actions we're seeing certainly is pregnant with a lot of meaning, isn't it?
Absolutely, there is a lot, and there's also a lot of talk about, some of the issues being discussed on the within the various caucuses, especially the Ashanti caucus. That was a bit dismissed by the first Deputy Speaker who spoke to the media today. He didn't want to go there, but I mean, from the sources we have within, it's not something that especially the Ashanti caucus, they are not in favor of this. But it appears it's a pill they have to swallow because they need to move on, and there must be a united front. There is an election, later in the course of the year to be won. Even before that election, there's government business that has to be done. The government is the government of the New Patriotic Party. It's the party that they represent here in the party on whose ticket they represent their people here in the legislature. And so it means that they need to move on. And in moving on, they may have to shelve some of these things. But as to how soon it is, because it does appear in this regard, as compared to the NDC minority one, where we were hearing a lot of voices speak, it appears this one, very few of them want to comment on it. And many are saying that that's even a more dangerous one because you do not know what the plans are, what somebody have up their sleeves. And so it makes it quite a difficult one, especially the aftermath of it. Maybe somebody is just waiting for the dust to settle so they can throw in their missiles. But whichever way it is, I think it's quite clear. It's a change in the leadership. However, that change is not going to happen because, it's to be agreed on by everybody. But it's as a result of the fact that the longest serving MP in the majority side of H.M. Bonsu, who coincidentally has been a minority leader before, he's also been a majority leader, is bowing out. And or he has bowed out. And I mean, as it is now, that's what they have to contend.
Indeed. Kamla, appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Kamla Kluche is our chief parliamentary correspondent there. If you go on our Facebook page at 3FM927, we're showing you the videos of when Osechi Mensah-Bonsu walked in this morning to the Chamber of Parliament in his green kaftan. We understand this is his favorite kaftan he likes to wear. He did not sit on the seat that the leader of government business is normally seen sitting on. That is a black leather seat. If you go on our Facebook page, you see the video indicates all the other seats that members of parliament sit on are brown, but the leader's seat is black leather. He decided not to sit on that one, but rather sat on the Katie Hammond's seat that was just behind the row behind that of the leadership. Then the Honorable Habib Idris, who's a majority chief whip, walks up to him and then also now speaks to him, convincing him to move. He says no, he's not going to move. And then Obiamo as well is seen having a hearty chat with him. Bear in mind, Obiamo is also not contesting 2024. Then Osechi Mensah-Bonsu is seen in this video. If you go on our Facebook page right now, we're streaming that video. Osechi Mensah-Bonsu in Parliament. He is throwing his hands, indicating that he's not going to sit on that seat until such a time when he was beckoned on by, if indeed the clerk of Parliament, we see him as well walking to him. He had sat on the seat, according to Kamla Kluche, for just 2 minutes and moved back to another seat. Now, all of this gives an indication, but guess what? The people who are reading and all the developments in Parliament today and what this really means. And one such person is Benefsin, who is the editor-in-chief of the Daily, managing editor of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. He is also a pollster. He's a political analyst. He's joining us. Mr. Efton, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Good evening, Alfred. Good evening to our listeners.
Now, I'm sure you've seen that video of Osechi Mensah-Bonsu getting to Parliament today after his announcement of voluntarily resigning as the majority leader. Now, Jesse, at least based on the gestures we see him make and eventually the chief whip walking up to him, talking to him, it took close to 30 minutes to get him to move to his seat. He sat 2 minutes and just got up and went back. What does all of this tell you?
Well, I think that basically what had happened was, Chief Mensah is not coming back into Parliament. He didn't contest the primaries in his constituency after about, I think, 5 terms or so. And the NPP majority in Parliament, the president, and the issue was going to be how he was going to exit. But he said that Chief Mensah's statement underscored his desire to see MPP move forward. That if, he said, quote, the party has a lot on its hands and he didn't want his leaving or staying to become a distraction. Because if he hadn't resigned, then there would have been the possibility of some members of parliament saying he should stay. So you could see that with his long experience in parliament and contesting parliamentary elections, he recognizes that he needed to just make sure that there are no distractions concerning whether he's going to leave or not. So he saved the party some days and possibly 2 or 3 weeks of to and froing.
Now, being an experienced analyst for that matter, I mean, going into a crucial election, obviously you want to put your best foot forward and put your best cards on the table. Osechi Mensah-Bonsu is a best bet for anyone who wants to have an impactful leadership in Parliament. In your view, do you see through the strategy of getting him or he having to resign at this point and someone else stepping in his shoes 10 months to this crucial election?
Well, I think that he will be more of use to the party in terms of trying to break the eight by ensuring, because the position has been given chairman of the manifesto committee, that is harnessing and ensuring that the manifesto that their candidate, Vice President Bawumia, sells to the swing voters in general, because NDC supporters will vote for Bawumia, MPP supporters will vote for Bawumia. In these elections, the kingmakers are the swing voters, and I think that once he is not coming back with his experience in lawmaking and so on, he will serve the cause of the NPP better in his capacity as overseeing the manifesto committee.
But looking at all of these developments, do you think that is going to impact on him, his function as the chair of the manifesto committee, the developments that preceded yesterday?
Oh, I think that he's so well respected that I don't think that it would be obviously there are a few MPs who I will call the rebel group in the in MPP slim majority in Parliament. So they may well have wanted to perhaps ruffle feathers, but he's got enough respect within the party that his position will be respected and he'll be able to contribute to the party moving towards the December elections better.
Mr. Epson, I appreciate your time as always. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Ben Epson is the managing editor of the Daily Dispatch newspaper, so it's a pollster. Now, one person who has served with Osechi Mensah-Bonsu for a while, knows him much better than all of us, is Honorable Cletus Avoka. Also has been both a majority and minority leader before in this Parliament of Ghana. Now, he's a member of Parliament for the Zebila constituency. He, Honorable Cletus Avoka has been a member of the first Parliament, the second Parliament, the third Parliament, the fifth Parliament, the sixth Parliament, and this eighth Parliament. He's joining us on the telephone. Let's have a quick conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, how does this decision by Osechi Mensah-Bonsu to voluntarily resign strike you?
I'm hugely disappointed to hear the resignation of my very good brother, my friend, and colleague, the majority leader, Honorable Osechi Mensah-Bonsu. I'm hugely disappointed. And I know this will be a great disservice to the Parliament of Ghana and Ghana as a whole, as a country. As you mentioned earlier, I was in the first Parliament and he joined us in January 1997 in the second Parliament. And we had become very close friends. I recall that those days, anytime I was going up north, I was talking Kumasi and call him, and then we'll go out together, socialize before I passed to the north. That was our relationship. Now, I remember in the third Parliament, we both served as members of the Lands and Forest Committee, and we traveled outside the country, including Burkina Faso, to watch or to see some of the forest efforts. So, and after that, I wonder what the majority leader in the 2009 Parliament. He was the minority leader, and we shared a lot of experiences together. We built consensus together, and we did a lot of laws, very critical laws together. For example, the Presidential Transition Bill or law was passed by us. The Petroleum Revenue Management Act was passed by us. And then the several loan agreements, SGX agreement, then the 3 billion Chinese loan that we got under President Mills, etc. I can mention a lot of them. I think that it is a great loss to Parliament and to Mother Ghana. He is a gentleman. He is very, very astute. He's very, very committed. And he's resourceful. If you don't know him before, you might think he's a lawyer, but he's not.
Indeed. And that's exactly the comment that's been coming from many people. Honorable Cletus Avoka, appreciate your time. Thank you so much. He's a member of parliament for the Zebula constituency, served in a number of the parliaments. With Osechi Mensah Bonsu, has been a member of the first, second, the third, the fourth, fifth, and sixth, and this eighth parliament. Cletus Avoka, one of the longest serving MPs as well as Osechi Mensah Bonsu. Thank you so much for joining us. A number of you sending us messages. Eric Atankroma says serious issues of it says, thank you so much, Eric. Lord Lamte sends us a message as well. Moses Fosu Freeman says, MPP opposition is loading 80%. This one here says that we'll see how Parliament will be, especially without the rich experience of all these people who have decided not to contest again. There has to be an approach to ensure that the institutional memory of these persons who have served Parliament for so long is documented for others to learn from. Thank you so much. And now, cardiovascular disease is now the number one cause of death among adults in Ghana, with a significant portion being premature. Risk factors such as hypertension, diabetes, and also others have surged, exacerbating the burden of disease. This was made known at the 2024 annual General and Scientific Meeting of the Ghana Society of Cardiology. Emmanuel Samani came through with the details of this report.
Non-communicable diseases, including cardiovascular diseases, have seen a significant rise in sub-Saharan Africa, leading to higher mortality rates and economic burden. The stark reality is that they account for a staggering 80% of deaths in these regions, with a significant portion being premature.
Since 2019, we now know that cardiovascular diseases, particularly atherosclerotic diseases, are now the number one cause of death. Overall, since 2019, they've overtaken the communicable diseases. And this includes ischemic heart disease, includes stroke. Then globally, non-communicable diseases account for 7 out of every 10 deaths. 74% of all deaths are due to non-communicable diseases. And amongst these, the leading cause of death itself is actually stroke among the cardiovascular diseases.
Presidential.
So that's some detail there. Let's go into the telephone. Dr. Francis Ejekum, consultant cardiologist at the University of Ghana Medical School and Kolebo Teaching Hospital. He's also the vice president of the Ghana Society of Cardiology. Dr. Francis Ejekum is joining us on the telephone. Thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Thank you to you. Welcome. Good evening.
Good evening. I appreciate your patience holding on for us. First off, I mean, we hear of, at least we report of stories of young people as young as 21, 22 years old being diagnosed with stroke. Now, one of the cardiovascular diseases as well, which is leading to a lot of deaths, as we're seeing. Based on the records you have, what's the prevalence rate of stroke amongst young people?
Thank you very much. Stroke is a very common condition among young people in our part of the world. We have had some studies done, and we are seeing quite significant proportions of young people having stroke. I remember I shared this story of once working at La General Hospital, and out of a bed capacity of 10 patients, we had about 6 to 7 of them occupied by stroke patients. This will give you average like 60 to 70% occupancy by stroke. It's part of the cardiovascular diseases we are talking about. So generally, these are the atherosclerotic cardiovascular diseases.
Quite apart from stroke, what are the others that has contributed to this being the leading cause of death amongst adults in Ghana?
The main atherosclerotic cardiovascular diseases are the heart attack, stroke, amputation, diseases leading to inadequate blood supply to the legs that may lead to amputation. Kidney disease may also be a contributing factor. And then sometimes, impotence in men, sexual weakness. But by and large, the ones we are seeing most commonly in Ghana, heart attack is common, stroke is common, and in fact, all those I've mentioned are quite common. And this results from thickening and blocking of the blood vessels that supply the vital organs with blood.
Now, what are some of the measures and lifestyle practices that listeners should adopt to ensure that they stay safe?
So we generally group these measures into two. We have the behavioral risk factors and also the metabolic risk factors. So when we say behavioral risk factors, they are lifestyle behaviors that lead to these diseases. Something like smoking, eating habits, eating junk food, eating late in the night, lack of exercise, more sedentary lifestyle, excessive salt intake. All these are behavioral factors that, if you don't check them, will lead to what we call the metabolic or intermediate factors. And these include diabetes, hypertension, obesity, cholesterol problems. And when these ones come in and they stay in for long without control, then they lead to this atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, hardening of the artery and blocking of the artery. So if you want to prevent them, watch the way you eat, exercise more, sleep well, reduce your stress levels, and then don't smoke cigarettes. These are the major things we can do to help ourselves.
Dr. Jacob, I appreciate your time on this one. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Dr. Francis Ejiokum, consultant cardiologist, University of Ghana Medical School, Korle Bu Teaching Hospital as well, is the vice president of the Ghanaian Society of Cardiology. Thank you for joining us. This is Hot Edition. We're back shortly after this quick break with the latest in the world of business. As always, your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions are welcome on Hot Edition. Log on to our Facebook page at 3FM 927. And you can share your thoughts with us and we'll read it out to you and to the rest of the world. But before we go, you've seen the weather in a recent alert from the Ghana Meteorological Agency. People living in Ghana were urged to prepare for scorching weather conditions as temperature is set to rise significantly in the coming days. Ghana Meteorological Agency's forecast a surge in temperatures across the country as the sun moves towards the equator, peaking on March 20, 2024. The current weather in Ghana is already hot, with the Harmattan season contributing to elevated temperatures. However, Ghana Meteorological Agency warns that the temperature is expected to intensify, surpassing the prevailing conditions. So that is information from the Ghana Meteorological Agency that you should also take notice of. So this is one that we're keeping an eye on, and indeed the reactions after Osechi Mensah Bonsu's voluntary resignation. Samuel Tachia, Member of Parliament for the Abuakwa South Constituency, has expressed surprise at the resignation of Osechi Mensah Bonsu as Majority Leader. He says that the NPP situation is precarious. The timing of Osechi Mensah Bonsu's resignation is surprising. That comes through to add on to many reactions to this. After this quick break, we go to the business news with Juliana Menuafo. Stay with us. To change.
Let's celebrate love with the Love Bets promotion on 3FM 92.7. Your urban lifestyle radio is giving a lucky couple a chance to seal your love with your perfect rings this month of love from Rings for Less GH in the 3FM Love Bets promotion. Simply send us a voice note telling your love story and why you deserve the rings to seal your love. You and your better half could win your perfect rings from Rings for Less GH and a romantic dinner for two. Send a voice note of your entry of not more than 2 minutes to 053-220-0927 to officially be a part. Deadline is 23rd February 2024. 3FM Love Bets is sponsored by Rings for Less GH and powered by 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio.
Swim every ocean just to be with you.
Good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition. This evening, we'll go straight to our first story. Producer prices in Ghana continued to rise in January 2024, reaching 17.4% year-on-year, up from 16.6% in December 2023. This aligns with a slight increase in the consumer price index, suggesting broader inflationary pressures. Ebenezer Kumbuating has more in the following report.
The month-on-month change in producer prices was 1.7%, indicating a relatively stable pace of increase compared to December. Inflation in the industry sector, excluding construction, climbed to 17.2% compared to 16.2% in December. Construction sector saw a positive development, with inflation dropping from 46.0% to 40.2%. Inflation in the services sector also dropped slightly from 17.6% to 16.9%. The rise in producer prices mirrors the inflation observed in consumer prices, reflecting general economic challenges. This data provides valuable insight for businesses and policymakers in the country. Understanding the inflationary pressures and sectorial variations can help them make informed decisions about pricing strategies, investment, and economic interventions.
Well, that was a report by my colleague Eben Ejekum Boating. Away from that, energy strategist at Eureka Energy Solutions, Dr. Yusuf Suleimana, blames the recent rise in pump prices of fuel in Ghana on the conflict between Israel and Hamas. While fuel prices have seen marginal increases since the beginning of the year, with petrol price at some stations increasing to 12 cedis 99 pesos from 11 cedis 24 pesos in January, Dr. Suleimana also cites the current exchange rate as a contributing factor.
The Red Sea is a crucial choke point that controls about 12 to 15% of global energy transport. Global commodity transport. With petroleum products and crude oil inclusive. And we have attacks and counter-attacks happening in the Red Sea. And even as we speak now, there are attacks within the Red Sea. So the ships have to, take different routes. They have to pass through Africa, the southernmost part of Africa, Cape of Good Hope. And that will elongate the journey by thousands of nautical miles. And in this business, a single day increment in the transportation will have impact on the commodity, the landing price of the commodity. So yes, and because we are price takers, we are importing this product. Of course, they will add the premium. So yes, the premium of Israel-Hamas war is there and is impacting the pump prices partly.
Well, that over there was Dr. Yusuf Suleimana, an energy strategist at Eureka Energy Solutions. And that's how we wrap up the business segment on Hot Edition. My name is Menu Afo. Bill is on standby with the sports news.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on a 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Belishen. Let's start off from women's football now because the Black Queens have received their outstanding bonuses ahead of their crucial Olympic Games qualifier against Zambia. The players had been owed $7,500 each and are reportedly threatened to boycott the match if their demands were not met. Players have now received their payments and the team is poised to take on Zambia in the first leg of the qualifier on Friday. They trained for the final time earlier today at the Accra Sports Stadium, and coach Nora Hopto is hopeful of defeating Zambia on Friday.
And we have a home game. Zambia, of course, is a big opponent. They have been on the World Cup. They played 21 games last year. They have good individual players, so I think they must win. and we want to win. And we want to face the top individual players, of course, with a top team. This is our credo for tomorrow, and we are working properly this week and excited that we can start tomorrow.
That was Coach Nora, the head coach of the Black Queens. The game will take place at 5 p.m. on Friday, but that's not the only big game to look forward to, because Mediama SC will host Al Ahly in Kumasi also on Friday. The Malvern Yellows are bottom of Group D with just 4 points from 4 games, whilst their opponents are top with 6 points. Mediama head coach Nebosha Kapoor is ready for the big test.
Normal is all of us respect all our opponents, but also we can see our opportunities. We are very, very satisfied how we are working. All players are working very well, and we must think positive, and we must come on the field with very, very high level of confidence, and I'm thinking we will show good performance.
Now that game will take place at 4 p.m. That was Mediama's head coach Nebosha Kapoor. Moving on to Europe, Real Madrid midfielder Toni Kroos has come out of international football retirement after Euro 2024 host Germany. The 34-year-old was part of the Germany team that won the World Cup in 2014 and has won 106 caps for the Mannschaft. He retired in July 2021, but has now reversed that decision after talks with Germany head coach Julian Nagelsmann. To our final story, a court in Spain has found former Barcelona and Brazil footballer Dani Alves guilty of raping a woman in a Barcelona nightclub. He has been sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. The 40-year-old, who is one of the most decorated footballers in history, had denied sexually assaulting the woman in the early hours of 31st December 2022. His lawyer has asked for his acquittal and has said that she would appeal against the verdict. That brings an end to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Billy Shen, and up next is entertainment with Akofa.
Thank you for joining us on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. It's now time for the entertainment news segment powered by 3 Entertainment. My name is Akofa. Ghanaian actor Ken Fiati has expressed his dissatisfaction about the lack of concern and commitment shown to the creative sector on the part of the government. As a filmmaker, Ken is worried, among other things, about the non-existence of a film fund for the creative sector by the NFA. He spoke to 3 Entertainment's Naftali Ba.
The governing body of the National Film Authority was inaugurated in December 2019 to streamline the film industry. With veteran actor David Donto as its chairman, the 14-member board was mandated to work hard to make the industry a force to be reckoned with on the continent and beyond. 4 years on, actor Ken Fiati is of the opinion that the regulatory body has made some appreciable gains, but there's still more to do.
I won't say I have been totally happy with what has gone on in this sector of ours. I was full of expectations for our own Honorable Marco Kreku Mante. I have visited that place, the ministry, a lot, and we're told that he was responsible for the creatives. I think he has done as much as he can, but I expected more. I truly expected more. But I was expecting that by this time the legislative instrument for Act 935, that is a film law, should have been in place to give more power to the National Film Authority. I was expecting that we should see like the film fund, so that filmmakers and creatives will be able to fish into it to produce stuff, so that the NFA can now properly have a grasp on the industry. I think that I am one that has fought Juliet over the period, but I also think that maybe just maybe, government should have shown more commitment to the sector to give them whatever is required to be able to function the way they have to function. And so it's not total disappointment, but it's not total excitement for me.
Touching on the new Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture appointment, Ken believes he can turn the fortunes of the sector around.
Ordinarily, you'll be tempted to say it's too late in the game, but I'm sure the Blasters taught us in Cote d'Ivoire that you can even lead 2-0 and lose. And so it means that until you die, until you lose your breath, you can do something. And so I am very expectant.
And finally, before I go, rapper Bismarck Agbeko Yanka, widely known as Agbeko, who was previously signed to the renowned producer Hammer of The Last Two, has disclosed the events which caused him his music career. Agbeko, in an interview with Giovanni Caleb on the 3FM Drive, said he was spiritually attacked 3 years ago, leading to his quote-collapsed music career and the 20-year break from music.
I would say it started like 3 years ago, perhaps. Like, you know, I started experiencing like some. I don't like talking about it anyway. It makes me get emotional.
You're allowed to. These are your emotions. You're allowed to.
So, like I started experiencing some spiritual attack and all that. That's how come I lost my locks. Like I have to start going to church, like mostly the spiritual churches and stuff. So it was one of the churches.
What are some of the things they took you through?
So no, it was just like the usual prayers. I go for prayers and all that. So I had to take off my locks, directed by my pastor at the time. You see, so.
It is sad to see you like this, but we also heard that you fell off because you were on drugs, hard drugs.
But I knew I got down with drugs, but as long as the street is concerned, when I don't have anywhere to lay my head, and I every time find myself sleeping on the street and stuff, so people still confuse it with me still doing the drugs.
Were you doing hard drugs for a while?
I actually was doing drugs.
Which types?
It's not a priority anymore.
Yeah, no. I mean, people will learn lessons from this.
And that's rapper Agbeko there speaking with Giovanni Caleb on the 3FM Drive. That will be all the entertainment news here on Hot Edition, powered by 3 Entertainment. My name is Akofa. Thank you very much for tuning in. And for more news, log on to 3news.com. Keep your dial locked on. The 3FM Drive continues.